Hey everybody, Scott Junior Ereckson here. Buy my books. Here they are. The Unknown Mongol, The Unknown Mongol 2. These are the truth. This is what really happened. You're gonna love them. Buy my books on Amazon, in audio, paperback, and Kindle. Or you can buy them off my personal website and get them personally autographed. Buy these books and listen to The Wolf and the Shepherd. Thank you.
Wolf, get away from those sheep.
Bollocks.
You're listening to the Wolf and the Shepherd podcast, broadcasting from Fort Worth in the great state of Texas. Now, get ready for this episode of the Wolf and the Shepherd.
Welcome to this special episode of The Wolf and the Shepherd. Today we have with us once again Scott Junior Ereckson. Scott, super glad you could join us again.
Happy to be here, Max.
So, we're going to do things a little bit differently today than we normally do on The Wolf and the Shepherd. We're going to do a Q&A, and I'm going to do nothing but ask Junior these questions. Most of these questions were submitted in via either email. There were some YouTube comments. Some were comments. Some were questions. So we've compiled all these things together, and all I'm going to do is ask Junior your questions, and he's going to give his answers. Now, one caveat I'm going to go ahead and mention right out the bat. I'm not going to interrupt Junior. That was one of the biggest comments on the prior YouTube of the first podcast was, why do you keep interrupting him? Why do you keep interrupting him? Well, there's two answers to that. Number one, do you really think I'm going to interrupt Junior Ereckson? No, I'm not. I did a terrible job editing that and chopping up some of the silence parts, and it does sound like I'm interrupting him. So we decided we're going to do this completely live. We're not going to chop anything up. We're not going to censor anything. We're not going to do any of that. You're going to see just Junior and I on this. It's going to be me asking questions and Junior giving his thoughts. So with all that said, Junior, let's get started. So first up, you've written 2 books. Have you planned on writing anything else?
Actually, I do. I have a plan for a 3rd book. It's kind of a unique story, and I'm gonna go ahead and give everybody a little sneak preview of this thing. So, as you guys all know, or if you read the books, you know that I was adopted at about 2 weeks old by a good family. I mean, good parents, good people. But I had a quest, the last probably 15 years of my life to actually find out who my parents were and where I really came from, my actual DNA, my bloodline said. Well, with the help of Ancestry.com and the answer is quite remarkable. And this story is going to give more insight to who I am and why I am the way I am. I found out some pretty unique things. So I'm going to leave that like that.
Gotcha. So there is a 3rd book on the way. Very cool.
Yeah, I haven't started yet, but it's definitely going to be my next one, and it's going to happen.
Nice. So talking more about kind of books, the next question up, since you are an author, do you have any other authors that you really like?
Yeah, that's easy. Max Billington.
Yeah, right.
Gotcha. Actually, when I was in the pen, I was drawn to Dean Koontz. I like Dean Koontz books because most of the locations were right there in Orange County, and I was familiar with the areas he was talking, the streets, the freeways. So I felt I had a kind of a relationship with Dean Koontz, and I kind of like to read his stuff.
Well, I'm sure Dean would like to hear that. So next up is not really a question, but more of a quote. And I stole this off of one of your videos, or one of the quotes off of your video on our YouTube channel. Damn, I wanted to hear his story about the New Year's party, but you interrupted him once again and went a different direction. What do you have to say about that? Did I interrupt you? Do you have more to tell about the New Year's party?
Well, I was active in the club for 32 years, so you're talking about 32 New Year's parties. I can't remember which one they're talking about. I'm sure there's a story behind every one, and I don't recall you interrupting me on that. No, I don't.
Gotcha. So, kind of an aside here. You say, 32 years in the club, there were 32 New Year's parties. Was there maybe a holiday or whatever which was the party to look forward to? Because most people, New Year's is a big deal, or St. Patrick's Day. Was there like that once a year maybe party that you always look forward to, that was the big party?
When I was active in my younger years, our parties, we camped. We got campsites. We went to campsites. We partied. It was none of this hotel shit. I've used a rock for a fucking pillow before, and laid there my own vomit. I mean, I'm not complaining. That's the way it was. We partied hard, and we didn't have no beds. It was just a party time, and I mean, there was a lot of parties, a lot of good times, and it was way different back then than it is now.
Gotcha. All right, so we had a submission saying, I want to join a motorcycle club. Should I? And what advice would you give me?
So what are we talking here? Are we talking a riding club or a 1% club? Or, I mean, I can only assume he's talking a 1%er, right?
That's what I'm guessing from this. And, he didn't say riding club. I think if you ask whether or not I should join a riding club, there's probably something a little bit wrong with you. So let's go with the angle that he's talking about a, 1% or 3-piece patch, traditional motorcycle club.
Okay, so look, this is a deal. You're going to join this bike club, okay? The first thing that's going to happen is once you get in is you got a full commitment to the bike club, okay? So what's going to happen is you're going to start distancing yourself from the ones you love. And they're going to notice it, right? Okay, second of all, you got a good chance of going to prison. You want to go to prison? Good chance. It happened to me, okay? Third of all is you're accountable for what your brothers do. They say, you're your brother's keeper. You're going to be your brother's keeper. And here's the deal. You got a brother in your chapter that's a fucking idiot and he does something stupid. Guess who's accessory? Okay. Take all these things into consideration before you do anything. You know what? There's a lot of good times. There is camaraderie, but you know what? This shit's real. The bad is real. What can happen to you is real. So make a decision if you're willing to sacrifice these things, because you really need to think about that. There's going to be sacrifice. It's just not all party and riding. I mean, there's obligation, commitment. There's dues. Know the whole thing, what you're getting into. I hope I gave you some good advice.
Yeah, sounds good. So you said you wrote poetry in prison. Do you still write poetry?
It's been a minute. My mom used to ask for poetry when I sent her a birthday card, and I did it for my wife. I've kind of slacked off of that stuff. I probably still need to do it, especially for my mom and my wife, but it's been a minute, but I still got some skills there if I have to apply it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I don't remember, Junior, if I actually asked you this or not, but going back to that poetry, you said you would write poems for some of the people that were in the pen with you, and you were selling those poems. I don't remember if I asked you how much the going rate for a Junior Ereckson poem was in prison. So do you remember how much you were selling your poems for?
Yeah, that was easy. It was 2 top ramens.
2 top ramens.
Yeah, and I wanted beef. I want fucking beef top ramens. I don't want the chicken shit. beef top ramens, 2 of them.
2 beef top ramens. Okay, I'm going to put a couple of those in the mail to you today, Junior, and so I expect my poem pretty soon. Oh, that's great. That's great.
I'll write one for you. There'll be a lot of I love yous in it. How's that?
Yeah, there you go. Well, you know, I can't write poetry, so I need you to write something. My anniversary is coming up, so, you know, that's what I'm going to give my wife for our anniversary is a poem from
I can
Junior.
do something for you.
There we go. I love it. Okay, next up. I've seen you on TV and, of course, heard you on this podcast. Would you ever consider starting your own podcast?
You know, I've considered it. You know, right now I've got a full-time job. I'd like to retire maybe next year if things allow. It might be something I considered maybe later down the line, but you know, I got just too many irons in the fire right now with the job, and I'm going to try to get writing another book here pretty quick. A podcast might be nice, but it's nothing that I got planned in the near future.
Okay, so you're not saying no, though.
I'm not saying no. You know, I do have another brother that we've discussed doing a podcast together, and we've kind of designed a couple little things about it, but is it in the near future? No, it can't be that. It's not that close.
Gotcha. I'm sure there's a lot of people that would want to listen to it. So don't dismiss that idea just yet, Junior. Harley Davidson is now making electric motorcycles. What's Junior's take on electric Harley Davidsons?
Okay, so let me think about that a minute. So, you know what? I'm not one to really stand on the way of the electric movement as far as vehicles. As a matter of fact, I've been really thinking about buying some stocks right now and that stuff. But my only concern is this, you know, when I'm going down the road and a Harley's next to me, I know it's a Harley by the sound of the motor. You know, I can't, you know, everybody said, you know, loud pipes save lives. Well, you know what? I believe that. And I think the sound of a motorcycle is part of the safety feature and awareness to other vehicles. I mean, what are you going to do? Go down the freeway splitting lanes on a silent bike? No one even hears you coming. So am I against them? No. I mean, who's going to stand in the way of progress? But would I buy one? Do I think they're safe? No. You got all the odds against you anyway when you're riding a bike. Now you're going to take the sound away? They're not going to see you. They hardly ever see you to begin. Now they can't hear you.
I totally agree with you on that. That is kind of my fear with it as well. I mean, I do still have my Harley, ride it from time to time, and she's a loud son of a bitch. And part of that is that loud pipe saved lives. This isn't me trying to rap on the throttle and show off and do all that crap. I want you to hear me because most of the time you can't see me. And I guess, and I said I wasn't going to do any opinions, but I think you're going to agree with me on this one. When you're in the cage, when you're in your regular vehicle and you miss a bike, you almost feel like shit, right? You're like, I didn't see that guy. And you think to yourself, man, that could have been me, you know, because I ride a bike too, and I didn't see that guy. How are these people, you know, in cages missing all these bikes? And I literally just missed one.
I agree 100%. You know, and the thing is in California, these guys are fucking splitting lanes, man. Bam! I mean, you're going on the road, they're splitting lanes on these bikes. Most of the time you can hear them coming, which is a good feature, you know, a good safety feature. But you got guys splitting lanes on bikes you can't even hear. You're going to cut somebody out. It's going to be a mess. That's just my opinion.
I agree with you. Yeah, we share the same opinion on that. All right, next up, you said you, and this is a quote, you said you, quote, did a lot of damage in the club, end quote. Can you elaborate on that?
I can't elaborate on that.
All right, works for me. If you could have done it over again, would you have stayed in Hawaii?
You know what? I'll be honest with you. So I went to Hawaii when I was a junior in high school. And from the day I got there, I fucking hated it. I hated it. I'm not bagging on the state of Hawaii, but I got plucked from a high school out here in San Diego. Got put into a high school in Hawaii with all these guys that had grown up together. Here I was all of a sudden with a bunch of dudes that had grown up since grammar school together, all local boys, and I wasn't accepted well. So it wasn't a good experience for me. I mean, I was fighting dudes at the beach. I was fighting dudes on the football fields. I was fighting dudes on the way home from school. And after a couple certain things, I made the football team. I became a starting guard. Once they seen that I was a badass, I became one of them. But the process of being accepted wasn't fun. So from the day I got there, I was plotting a way to get back to California, to the mainland, as they call it. So Hawaii's Hawaii. It's small. There's not a lot to see. You can see it all in a day, 2 days. It's expensive. No, I don't regret leaving one bit.
So, follow up to that, is Hawaii what most, like you say, mainland Americans think it is? We see the commercials of, basically the American paradise, right? This holiday destination, a vacation destination. Is it really that?
If you want to go to Hawaii, my advice is, go to the island of Kauai. It's the Jungle Isle. They shoot movies here. I think. What's the dinosaur movie?
Jurassic Park.
I think Jurassic Park was shot on Kauai. I mean, Oahu, where I lived, is high rises, businesses. I mean, I lived on the windward side, but it's pretty modernized. I mean, you got all the same stuff in Hawaii. High rises, crime, hookers. I mean, it's all the same stuff in downtown Honolulu. Nothing's any different. So if you're going to go there, go to Maui or Kauai or somewhere you can enjoy the beaches, the palm trees, the coconuts, and but be prepared to bring a good sized credit card because you're going to need it over there.
Right. Yeah, it's not cheap. Not cheap. In fact, there's like even TV commercials where it's like, this hamburger's 99 cents, but not in Alaska and Hawaii. And I always picture everything being just so much more expensive over there. So,
yeah.
So people have said to other people, I've been approached by 1%er clubs to join. So we had one specific question where this guy's saying he knows another guy that's saying, I've been approached by 1%er clubs to join. And his actual question is that bullshit?
Well, I can only speak for myself. So let me tell you how I would do it. So what I do is if I see somebody that I think could be an asset to a motorcycle club, say my motorcycle club at the time, I would ask them if they would like to hang out, come to a party, go for a ride. Because you know what? I want to get to know this person. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait. It could take a year and a half. I'm going to wait for him to ask me to prospect. I'm not asking anybody to prospect. I'm not asking anybody to join this club. They have to earn that. They're going to ask me. They're going to have to fucking ask me is the way it goes. You know what? I might ask you to come around as a guest. But I'm not gonna offer you a pass. You know what? You got to earn that. You got to come to me after you hung around and say, hey, I'd like to prospect. And then I'm going to contemplate that and tell you when I think you're ready. That's how that goes. If a club comes up and says, hey, you want to join my club? Beware. Some may write. That's my opinion.
So you made me have like two questions, but I'm just going to stick to the one. You use the term asset. I've identified somebody that might be an asset. Can you elaborate on the assets you might be looking for?
Yes, I'm looking for Brotherhood. I'm looking for a guy that's got Brotherhood. I'm looking for a guy that ain't going to leave me hanging somewhere if shit goes fucking south. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking for a guy, right, that if I need a ride somewhere is going to come get me. I'm looking for a guy that if I'm sick is going to call me on the phone. I'm looking for a guy that if I'm hungry is going to invite me to his house to eat. If I need a place to stay, invite me to his house to sleep. That's an asset. You know what? And if the guy can fight, that's an extra. But I'm looking for a brother first of all. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm looking for. I don't give a shit. You can be trained to do all the rest of the other fucking bullshit. You know what I'm saying? I want somebody that's got it right fucking here in their fucking heart, a brotherhood. And that's an asset.
Would you agree that can't be taught? The brotherhood part, it's either in you or it's not?
Well, you know what? There's two reasons somebody joins the club. They're looking for brotherhood and they've got it in them, right? Or they're a coward, they're looking for protection. So, you know what? I'm a good judge of character, and the prospect period is to weed that out.
When you say weed that out, meaning weed out whether or not they're a brother looking for,
why they want to come in, what it's all about. I mean, what do they want to do? They want to come in and for what? For more girlfriends? I don't know what they're coming in for. Some kind of a you know what? I want a guy that's going to come in that wants to be a brother, that wants to offer himself 100% as a brotherhood, and that is the main thing. I'm not looking for nothing else. Like I said, if the guy can fight and he ain't and you know, you don't want no pussies, that's for sure. If the guy can handle himself and he's got all the brotherhood, that's an asset. And that's the kind of people I would look for when I was in the club.
Gotcha. So I know this one might be touchy, and this was a submitted question. So Junior, don't get mad at me because I think I already know some of the answer to this. So don't scream at me. Are clubs really gangs? And why are clubs called gangs?
Well, here's what I got to say to that. So a motorcycle club is made up of men. Okay? It's made up of individuals, it's made up of human beings. I mean, you're only going to get what you get. You're not recruiting perfect people. Most of the guys got issues or they wouldn't be coming in a bike club anyway. So this is what it boils down to. The people you recruit in your club is what your club is going to be. Okay? Do I use the word gang? I've never used it, and I refuse to use it as a motorcycle club. But I can see where maybe some clubs want to recruit a bunch of gangsters, a bunch of idiots, a bunch of knuckleheads. I don't know. You know, personally, I think the gang phrase is something used by law enforcement. But you know, do I refer to a motorcycle club as a gang? No, I refuse to do it. I think it's more of a law enforcement term. But then again, you know, you are who you recruit. You know, you want you got to recruit good people, solid people. You've got to have rules and regulations. You've got to do background checks. You got to know what you're doing when you're bringing these people in. And that's what you got to do.
Gotcha. So back in your day, and once again, I'm just quoting what somebody's saying. So back in your day, if you saw someone wearing a Support Your Local Mongols t-shirt in a bar or wherever you might see them, what would you do?
So if I ran into that, what I would do is I would probably buy him another beer because I bought him the first because I gave him the fucking shirt. Because they ain't getting them shirts unless it come from one of us. So if he's wearing that shirt, he's supporting me, I'm supporting him.
All right, so that's kind of interesting. That leads me to an extra question there. So you can't just go on, you know, Amazon and buy a Support Your Local Mongols t-shirt. You're going to have to get that from a club member, is what you're saying.
Well,
in a real one, I guess. So let's put it that way.
So
you can probably get
I keep forgetting that I was in the club 40 years ago. I'm talking about, when you tell me this, I'm thinking about when I came in. I guess can you just buy them things online? Is that how it is now? I mean, it used to be the chapters made them, and they gave them out to friends and family and people they liked. I don't really, like I said, when I was doing my thing, Mongols support stickers, support shirts. They came from us. That's how they got them. And if you were wearing one, you got them from us. And you know what? I'll buy you a beer.
So, of course, and this did say back in your day, right? So you would have known, it might not have been you, but one of your brothers gave that person that. And in that definition, then you realize they're good folk. That's a terrible word, but they're good folk.
I'm going to go for that. Hey, you know what? Back in the day, we needed all the support we could get. It wasn't no fucking cakewalk when I came in. You know what? It wasn't no game. And like I said, anybody wearing a support shirt that's supporting the Mongols Motorcycle Club back in my day, I think that was the question, right? Back in my day, yeah. If they were wearing that shirt, they were close to us and more or less connected to somebody in the chapter, almost 100% sure if they're wearing that shirt. So I would probably know them if they had that shirt on back in my day. And like I said, I'd buy them another beer. Not only that, but I'd have their back in a bar. And they better have mine too if they're wearing that shirt.
Absolutely. So I know you alluded to this a little bit earlier with the third book. And that one caught me off guard, but this kind of maybe goes into that question. Your last name is Ereckson. So were your ancestors Vikings?
No. So I'm going to give here's a little tester. So my heritage, my mother is full-blooded Italian, and my father was a Russian-German Jew. So I'm half Italian, half Jewish. I'm not Norwegian. I'm not a Viking. Ereckson's my adopted name. I'm proud of the Ereckson name. That's what I go by. I'll go by it my whole life. I was raised by Junior Ereckson, Genevieve Ereckson, and I couldn't ask for better parents.
Oh, that's cool. So with your adopted parents then, were they descended from Vikings?
No, I believe my father, my mother was full-blooded Italian. My adopted mother's full-blooded Italian. And my father was, my adopted father was from Texas. And I'm not sure with his background. The last name Ereckson, E-R-E, is a little different spelling. I know there was some American native in his family. I believe Cherokee. And I'm not really sure, they were just where they came from on my dad's side. On my adopted mother's side, she was born in New Rochelle, New York. And she's my adopted mother's Italian, as well as my biological mother was full-blooded Italian.
Gotcha. So, moving back towards Mongols again, Jesse Ventura, a name most people recognize, has always been said was a Mongol. Did you ever meet him, and what do you know about him?
I got to be honest with you. The Jesse Ventura thing, he was in before my time, even though he came from my area. I was in San Diego chapter in 80. And I believe he was either San Diego or South Bay chapter, which was basically same area. My San Diego chapter was East County, San Diego. And South Bay chapter was South County, San Diego. I'm not sure really which chapter, I'm not sure which one he was in, but by the time I came in, he was gone. From what I understand, He wasn't in for a long time, maybe a couple of years, but I really can't comment anything about Jesse Ventura. I don't know him. I know him as a wrestler, but I really never had a chance to know him as a brother.
Gotcha. Do you believe in God?
Yes.
I know that is like a yes, no question, but you want to elaborate on that? I mean, especially.
Well, I've had a couple of issues. Let me give. I'm not going to sit here and preach on tape. Do I believe in organized religion? Not really. I'm not really an organized religion kind of guy, but I'm going to tell you some experiences I had. It seems like every time I've really needed something and I've wanted something and I've been man enough to get down on my knees and ask for it, I've got it. And let me give you an example. I got a writ of habeas corpus on my last case. I got down on my knees after all my appeal were exhumed. I didn't have any chance for appeal, so we went a writ of habeas. I got down on my knees and I prayed to God. Hey, you know what? I asked him, I said, I need some help here. I didn't do the whole fucking thing they said. I need some help getting out here. And I got a reversal on my case. And the judge that reversed it said he hadn't reversed a case in 25 years, the same guy that sentenced me. And I believe it was divine intervention. I mean, how many people doing a 14-year sentence get an overturn on a writ of habeas corpus? And I prayed and it happened. And you know what? I believe that it was a higher power that did it. It doesn't happen. And that's my belief on that.
So to kind of add to that, do you see a lot of that when you go to prison and you see some people that maybe were not a God believer or a Christian or, and choose your flavor, Christian, Jew, Muslim, and they get in that prison situation and they realize, I've got to have something like a higher power to help get me through this. Did you experience that among, the people that you were in prison with?
There's a couple different kinds of people. There's people that maybe go to the church to hide. And there's people that go to church because they're believers. I think on the yard, when we were on the yard, we all knew which ones were which. And the ones that were true believers, we were accepted as believers. And yeah, you know who's who, why they're going, the reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, a popular question, and hopefully this one doesn't surprise you. And honestly, I don't know if a man or a woman asked this question, but how many women have you been with?
Okay, let me count. 1, 2, 3. You know what? Hey, I'm going to tell you this. I'm happily married. I got respect for my wife. She's my partner. She's my life partner. And that's something I wouldn't even want to comment on. That's just something I won't go there on, out of respect for my wife. And all the females that are watching this, I'm not going to comment on that.
Gotcha. Perfect. So going kind of along those same lines, does the patch make it easier to get women into bed? Now,
yes.
Well, I'm pretty sure we can guarantee this one's coming from a man, right? So does the patch make it easier to get women into bed?
Yes.
We're good with just a yes on that. You don't want to elaborate.
I don't know how you want me to elaborate on that. I don't want to, I'm just, something about that fabric on your back, draws them in. And that is a fact.
So, kind of going back to, the reasons why people want to join a club that maybe are the wrong reasons, and, you talk about that asset, that figuring somebody out. I would imagine there would be a lot of people that might want to join a club to put that fabric on their back so they can try to get women in bed. Was that some kind of a vetting thing, maybe back in the day where somebody's coming along and you're thinking, okay, this guy's just hunting women and he wants that patch on his back and that's really what he's here for?
Well, that's what I said earlier. That's what the prospecting period's about. We're trying to, I can't say we're because I'm not involved with anything right now with the club. I'm just not involved. But when I was doing it, that's what prospecting is about. You want to try and find out the guy's real reason for wanting to join this club. And like I said, there's a myth. There's a lot of drugs. There's a lot of women. Well, you know what? Maybe back in my day, there was a little bit of that going on. I don't think it was to the extent of what everybody thought it was. But does a guy want to join for the cold beer and the sex? You got to try to figure that out because we're not looking for a guy like that. I wasn't looking for a guy like that. You know what I'm saying? I keep saying we're like I said, I wasn't looking for a guy like that. So, as part of the vetting, I guess, of it, the prospecting is trying to figure out who these guys are.
So, one question that kind of popped into my mind. This isn't on the list. Let's talk about tattoos. Okay, so you've done this a couple of times in the video. We can tell you've got tattoos, right? Are tattoos necessary to be in a motorcycle club?
No.
You always hear that, and this is, by the way, from my dad. There's only two types of people that get tattoos, and that's bikers and sailors. And my dad was in the Navy, and he somehow got out of the Navy without getting a tattoo. But he always told me the only two people that get tattoos are bikers and sailors. Now, you got to remember, my dad's 85 years old, right? So that was back in his day. Nowadays, tattoos are fashionable. You've got everybody and their brother gets a tattoo, and it's not that big of a deal. But let's go to back in your day, right? Was that almost kind of true that it was bikers and sailors with tattoos? And, how important are those tattoos to the biker culture?
Well, I think a tattoo is a representation of what's most important to the individual. Some guys get their baby's names on them. Some guys get their wife's name tattooed on their chest. I've got my wife's name tattooed on me. And then depending on their loyalty to whatever their loyalties are, they tattoo their loyalties, whether it be words or insignias or emblems on their bodies. If I can see where maybe if some guys are 100% loyal to a motorcycle club, they're going to want to tattoo that brand of the motorcycle club insignia on them to show their loyalty. So maybe your dad had a little something going on that thought. Yeah, I think the guys sailors, branded their loyalty to the country by whatever, by putting the name of their ship on them, or loyalty to their wives by their names. Maybe they thought they weren't coming back from the service. I guess, tattoos represent what you're loyal to, I think. And you want to mark them on your body and show everybody what your loyalties are. I think that's what a tattoo is.
So somebody that has, what I'm going to guess is a pretty decent amount of ink. What do you think about this new thing with the face tattoos? I've got to ask somebody that has tattoos, like, everybody's getting tattoos on their face now. What do you think about that, being kind of old school with the tattoos?
Well, you know what? I'm not a face tattoo guy. I still need to earn a living for my family. I still need to go out in public, and I draw enough attention as it is. I don't need any tattoos on my face. I'm thinking maybe the guy with the tattoo on his face is self-employed or inherited a lot of money. Maybe he's not worried about anything else. But me personally, I'm not a face tattoo fan.
Gotcha. All right, so this next one might kind of come a little touchy, so I'm gonna do this as, you know, as clear as I can do it without any disrespect meant. You were convicted of murder, and of course this is in your books. Did you really do it?
Yes.
Do you regret doing it?
You know, I'm going to tell you, I think about that incident often in my head. Do I regret taking a human life? I do. You know, I wish there was another way around it. But at the time, it was necessary. At the time, it was a necessary thing for the Mongols to do, a necessary thing for me to do, and it had to be done. It was just necessary. It had to be done. So, do I regret taking a life? I do, and I'm truly sorry about it. Do I regret what happened? No, I don't.
Gotcha. I have one last question that we want to ask that some people have shot in some stuff. But before I ask that question, has there anything that I've missed? Is there anything I missed that, you know, maybe somebody should have shot a question to you that hadn't been in the books, hadn't been on the podcast, hadn't been covered, that you just like to say, you know, hey, I don't know why no one has asked me this question, and just want to get something out there, you know, while you have this platform?
You know, I think we're good on the questions. I'm happy with everything. You know, I just want everybody that's watching this, you know, I just want them to know that, hey, you know, I just want to be honest. I'm trying to be honest with everybody. You know, my books have been honest. I'm trying to be honest with everybody. I'm not up here to crack a bunch of bullshit at everybody, tell a bunch of lies. I'm going to tell you how it is. This is, and you know what? This is all my opinion. My ex club, the club that I was in, I respect them guys. I had a lot of good times, but this is my opinion. This is Scott Junior Ereckson talking. That's all. That's it. This is not the Mongols. This is me talking. And I'm good with the questions. I just hope I answered everybody's questions as I would answer them. And that's what I'm doing.
Gotcha. All right. So last question. So, of course, this has nothing to do with back in your day, right? This is kind of a current event, current topic. And it's been all over the internet. And so, you know, I'm just going to ask you, and you take this how you want to take it. So, according to some sources on the internet and in the news media and everything, the current president, I don't know if it's national or international president of the Mongols, Little Dave, was identified as a federal informant. That has kind of came out in some Reddit posts, some, you know, stuff all over the internet that, you know, he's been this informant for a while. Your thoughts, your comments?
You know what, dude? I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm motherfucking sick and fucking tired of people asking me about this shit. You know what? How many times do I gotta fucking say it? I'm tired of answering it. You know what? I don't want to talk about it. I'm not gonna talk about it. Okay? It's something that they need to deal with. I'm sure they can deal with it themselves. And you know what? It's something that I don't want to talk about, and I wish people quit asking me about it. Okay?
I got you. Well, with all that said, thanks for tuning into this episode of The Wolf and the Shepherd, and we will catch you on the next one.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Wolf and the Shepherd podcast. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address, thewolfandtheshepherd.com, to your friends and colleagues. And please leave us a positive review on iTunes when you get a chance. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for additional content. Join us next time for another episode of The Wolf and the Shepherd.